All right, you guys. I didn't realize how ready I was for this, but I'm excited. So, a new podcast just dropped with Nick Shirley and Chris Williamson. Now, I don't know much about Chris Williamson, to be honest. I just don't. I know a few things. I know he's a pretty big podcast guy. Kind of like, I don't know if he's up there with Joe Rogan or anything, but he's got his own podcast, blah, blah, blah. He's grown pretty huge. I don't know. Interesting fella. But, yeah. So we're going to see what Nick Shirley's talking about on there. I got to say I'm proud of Nick, dude. Big Dick Nick Shirley. And the man, dude. The legend. I love this dude. So we're going to watch Nick Shirley own the entire Democrat Party, basically, at this point. And I love it. The Democrat Party deserved to be completely owned. It did. Because they're so soft on crime. They're soft on violence. They're soft on fraud. They allow so much. They turn a blind eye to so much. And of course, things like communism and socialism, people who believe in those things typically turn a blind eye to fraud. Let's not cut any corners, okay? All right, let's begin.
A lot of people have been calling me. I actually can't even keep track of all the numbers. And so today I just got asked to go talk in front of Congress just a moment ago. So people are just calling me saying, hey, we want some information. Can you tell us about this? We're just trying to gather information.
I love it, dude.
And for instance, today someone just called me and said, hey.
Nick Shirley's a real journalist. That's the point. The people at CNN, people on Fox News, people on MSDNC, they're not journalists. They're fake. All right? They're fake tits, is what I'm trying to tell you. All right? Let's keep going.
Hey, we have a meeting we'd like you to testify in front of Congress, January 21st, so I'll see if I'll do that.
Right. So it's starting to hit the bigger levels of sort of real law, real government now.
Yeah, I mean, within just one day of me posting my video, well, it got over 100.
This is what real journalism looks like, folks. I know it's tough, but that's a real journalist. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, you all got owned by a real journalist. And yeah, he is a virgin Mormon. I don't like Mormons. I'm okay with virgins. This guy's all right, though.
100 million views in 72 hours. But within the first day alone, you had Elon Musk retweet it. You had JD Vance retweet it. You had quite literally every major politician retweet it. The next morning, Kash Patel puts out a post on X about it. And then that same day, Attorney General Pam Bondi also puts out a post mentioning my name in that video. Same day, Mike Johnson as well. So it spread across the entire internet, and it's the most viral video.
Yep.
The expose on fraud in Minnesota. It's the most viral video by anybody not named Mr. Beast in an expose format. Over 100 million views in 72 hours.
That's wild, dude. Nick Shirley's getting up there, dude. Dude, Nick Shirley's turning into a beast, dude. I love this kid. I'm sure the pressure's probably getting to him a little bit because there's a lot of people probably threatening him. A lot of people, a lot of the unhinged crazies on the left who love fraud, by the way. If you're throwing death threats at this kid, you clearly love fraud and you hate real journalism. That's what I gotta say. Nick Shirley's number one, man. He's the man. I love Nick. Let me put out a poll. Give me a second, you guys. One moment.
Did you end Tim Walz?
I did end Tim Walz. He is no longer running for re-election of governor.
Tell me the story there.
So Tim Walz,
Like
everyone
gateway
knows him.
issue. I love it.
He was
Hell yeah.
almost the vice president of the United States. And
That is something I can't believe, man. Tim Walz, incompetent ass Tim Walz, was almost the president of the United. Could have been the vice president of the United States. That's disturbing. That's scary, man. That is something none of us want. And look, I mean, like, the Democrats don't know how to pick their candidates, dude. The Democrats are so good at they don't recognize what competence is. So when they see a kiss ass like Walz, they equate kiss assery to competence. That's the problem with the Democrats. Let's keep going.
And he has a record going on in Minnesota talking about fraud. Ever since 2019, he's known about fraud. He's been talking about how they've been fighting fraud. And he's been enabling this fraud to happen. And so I go and make this video. And I showed the fraud happening. And you would think people would be like, oh, amazing. This kid just showed that fraud's happening. Instead, Tim Walz goes on TV. He calls me a white supremacist.
Yeah, Tim Walz is slandering. Tim Walz is slandering Nick Shirley. And that shit's... Nick Shirley is a better human being than Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a compulsive liar. Nick Shirley's trying to get to the truth. Tim Walz is trying to hide the truth. Big difference. And Nick Shirley has been very open about this. I love this kid. I think he's a real journalist. And Tim Walz is a fake-ass governor. Let's keep going.
Calls me far right, and he also calls me a
it's
delusional
crazy.
conspiracy theorist.
Those things?
No. And so then Tim Walz,
Yeah, Tim Walz is an idiot. He's deflecting, and he's trying to hide the obvious fraud that he's committed. Like, it's crazy how obvious the fraud is. Yeah, I love Nick, dude. I call him Big Dick Nick, dude. But yeah, no, I'm extremely satisfied, extremely happy about him exposing what was happening. Because it needed to stop. It had to stop at some point.
after calling me all of that, he drops out of running for re-election of governor. So
Yeah.
I was right. I show people the truth. And Tim Walz, he couldn't handle it.
Of course, he ran away. And people want Tim Walz to resign. He's getting, by the way, the longer he stays in cabinet, the more he's going to get requests to resign. Yes, Tim Walz is absolutely trying to cover up a scandal, without a doubt. 100%. And the more he deflects the blame, you know, he keeps saying the buck stops with me, but then he starts blaming Donald Trump and Nick Shirley. No, clearly the buck doesn't stop with you in your own mind. You just say that because you care more about optics than the truth. Yeah, Tim Walz is a piece of shit.
So therefore, he went to deflecting mechanisms of calling me far right, delusional conspiracist, and a white supremacist, when I was just talking about fraud.
No, all I'm telling you is that Tim Walz has to do something about Tim Walz. Tim Walz has to just resign. If he doesn't, that's okay. People are just going to keep sending him requests for resignation. The requests for resignation are just going to keep piling up on his desk. And I bet you, I can't really bet, but I'd like to believe he's going to I hope he steps down. Because clearly he allowed a lot of fraud. No, I don't like Tim Walz. I don't necessarily hate the guy. I think he's annoying, and I think he's a bad governor. I don't hate him. I just think he's a bad governor. It's as simple as that. So the poll says Nick Shirley exposed. 100% of you said fraud. 0% said nothing. Let's keep going.
You think that the reason that he's not running for re-election is exclusively because of this story?
Yeah, 100%. He knows the baggage just so much that he can't run from it, and he's hoping probably people would think less of it. And so he's going to step aside and not run for re-election.
How much is he culpable? Because Minnesota's a big state. There's lots of stuff going on. He had an election campaign to look after not long ago. Is it his job to be paying attention directly to this sort of stuff?
He's obviously part of it. There's obviously larger communities like the DHS inside of Minnesota.
What's the DHS, sorry?
The Department of the Department of Homeland Security, but then you also have DHS that receives the money, and they kind of give the money to welfare, Medicaid programs, everything like that.
Okay.
So not entirely unculpable then.
No, I mean his office he's said it himself. The buck stops with him. He said that multiple times, and he's known.
Yeah, it's funny if the buck does stop with you, then with all the fraud that was uncovered, you should step down because clearly you're the problem. Like Nick Shirley exposed the fraud that Tim Walz, that we all thought Tim Walz already was. We already had our suspicions. And are any of us really surprised that Tim Walz covers up fraud? Like, seriously. No, we're not. We're not surprised at all. In fact, it's like, tell us something we don't know.
About the fraud forever.
It is an interesting challenge, right? Because you have some people, anybody that is running for office wants to show I've got agency and I make things happen inside of my state. And it kind of sounds powerful, ubermenschy to say the buck stops with me. But when it turns out that the buck is kind of messy and on fire and deserves investigation, you become culpable for the promises that you've made in the past.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he knew about it. He knows that there's daycares all around Minnesota. He actually bragged about that in a debate with Tim Walz. He said, you can go visit him. I visited him. There was no kids.
Give me the story from the start of how this came about.
So last June, every week for the past 100 weeks, I've been making YouTube videos about something happening in the U.S. or other countries. And so back last June, I went to Minnesota to make a video about the rise of Islam because I've heard how mosques were replacing Christian churches and how the Somali population was growing. And so I wanted to go do a video on the rise of Islam. And while I'm there, I'm talking with locals, and they're like, Nick, you have to do a video on the fraud. There's these daycares, there's these adult daycares. There's
Can I just say something, Why? Can you stop it, please? Can you stop it? Obviously, Tim Walz makes me angry. But that's where it stops. I just think he sucks. That's all. I have every right to think that somebody sucks ass. It's my constitutional right. But that's what I think. I do think Tim Walz is awful. I think he's a bad governor. But I don't believe that's about the extent of it, though.
There's assisted living homes popping up right next door to us, and they're all ran by Somalians. You need to do a video on the fraud. And I said, well, I can't just...
Thank you, Tristan Allen, for the clutch gift. I appreciate it. Oh, sent a happy poop. Yum, yum. Thank you for the happy poop. Yum, yum. I appreciate it, bro.
Come and just paint fraud to be happening and bring no evidence. So I made my video about the rise of Islam. And I saw it firsthand. I saw communities that had
Another
been
happy
overtaken
poop.
by
Thank you, bro.
Somalians. Actually, me and my mom was my camera woman for that video. She comes with me on a lot of trips. We got jumped in Cedar Riverside. They snatched the camera, and they threatened me and my mom.
See, that's crazy. I love how people say, like, well, that religion is a religion of peace. Eek. Not really. Not really at all.
And so after that...
Who's they?
Somalians inside of Cedar Riverside. Because inside there, they also have rivalry gangs, and there's a kind of a whole gang thing going on inside of these Somalian.
Doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all, dude. Not in the slightest does that surprise me. Let's keep going. No, and I think it's good to be suspicious of Tim Walz. Obviously, Tim Walz is a sketchy character. Compulsive liar. I'm not a fan of him. But no, why 1973? Can you stop implying those scary things that you're trying to imply? we're all about peace on this channel, all right? We give critical analysis for the most part. We just usually say things suck or don't suck. That's awesome or that sucks. Usually is my determination. It's very basic. But I do tend to analyze these things in my mind, notice patterns and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, I love what Nick did. He's doing on-the-ground journalism. On-the-ground journalism's not meant to be pretty. It's a little messy. And it's real journalism. And he was trying to, there was a lot of reports that there was fraud happening in Minnesota, and what Nick Shirley's trying to do is expose that fraud. And good for him for doing it. I love it, man. Go Nick. Big Dick Nick, dude. Big Dick Nick. Let's go.
Communities. And so I knew there was something there. And I went back home and I kept trying to do my own investigation to get down to the fraud. And I couldn't really
Thank
get
you
the
again,
number
Tristan Allen, for the happy
specifically.
poop yum yums. Appreciate it.
And
bro.
then a man by the name of David, who's in the video, he reaches out to me and he says, Nick, I have all the information. I've been researching this for years.
Why did he reach out to you?
Yeah, so he's been trying to get the story out for years.
But did he reach out to you before you did your documentary?
Well, he had seen some of my other videos on YouTube
Right.
as well, so he kind of just knew maybe this kid would be interested because he's been trying to get it from local people and local news.
By the way, this David guy, the David dude that Nick aligned with to do this, that man just basically made it to where Nick Shirley can retire for life on being nothing but a YouTuber. Let's just make that very clear. And that's awesome, dude. That's amazing. Yeah, I think it's good to expose Tim Walz for what he is. I mean, he's coward, bad governor. No, we just need to talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more we use our freedom of speech to expose. Using freedom of speech, we can expose what's happening.
News has been reporting on the fraud for years. And so they've been reporting on it for years, but it's never blown up on a national level. And this man, David, had all the numbers. Somebody from inside the Capitol had given him the information on the CCAP funding, which is federal and state.
Whoa, we got Frog Eat Frog. What up, brony bro? You're a pink brony bro, and you dance at the gay club. Oh my God. What up, dude? We toted. We got Frog Eat Frog in the house. What up, brony? It's good to see you on here. We have our brony brothers everywhere. Frog Eat Frog is our amphibian brony brother. And OG, originally Dog Eat Dog. Yo, what up, dude? My man. Give a shout out to Frog Eat Frog. What up? SSDD. That's our boy Frog Eat Frog, by the way.
Money that goes to these programs. It's called, I believe, the Child Care Assistance Program. So he had all the information, and he said, Nick, I have been looking into this for years, and I have never seen a single child at one of these daycares. And so we went and made this video about the fraud that was taking place. And
When did you make it?
December 16th is when we filmed it.
Oh, wow. So you really turned it around quickly.
Yeah,
Oh.
within just a few weeks.
Hmm.
And so I had no idea. I thought we were just going to go to these daycares, and I thought you'd be able to open up the door and go to the reception, receive a brochure for your child, and that the first daycare we go to,
Yeah, it's funny. All of them basically refused to even give him any sort of information. The numbers that he called did not answer nothing. None of these daycares gave him a lick of information. It was honestly insane. Honestly insane. And the way they treated him, like, let's say he did actually have a child, you should at least give him some information on how to enroll. Or if he can't enroll his kid, at least explain why. You know? That's what gets me the most, man.
it's a one building that has two of the same daycares inside of it. It was named Mako, and there's another one that's also inside of that daycare.
Frog Eat Frog
They
is
had
putting a
both been
text
receiving
dong
money
in the
from
chat,
government,
dude. Hell yeah.
Upwards of $5 million. And it was strange because all the windows were blacked out.
Not one of these again. All right, skip the ad.
It said open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. You open the door, nobody
We'll keep the poll going for about 15 more minutes. We'll keep the poll going for about 15.
would answer. You ring the doorbell, nobody answers. And then a Somalian woman comes up, and we're asking her, where's
Here, we'll kind of go a little faster with this. We'll do 1.25x speed. That'll speed things up a little bit.
the kids at? She says, I don't know. I was like, what the heck? Like, what's wrong with these daycares?
She came out of the...
She drove into the parking lot,
Right.
and she went into a store next door. And I was like, what the heck is going on with these daycares? That was weird. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's see what happens. We go to the next one. They also received $1 million. They're licensed for 40 children. All the windows were
It's weird that a daycare that's licensed for like 40 children needs $1 million from the government. That's a little insane. Isn't that a little insane? That's insane to me, at least.
completely blacked out. I knock on the door, and I hear a lady talk, and I said, well, hey, I'm trying to enroll my son, little Joey, into daycare. And she's like, no.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Tristan. It's taxpayer-funded daycare. You shouldn't be able to say no to anybody. Yeah, and then Tristan's also saying unless you make enough to be able to do something a little more expensive than... Yeah, exactly. If you're a privately funded daycare, yeah, sure. But if you're publicly funded with federal and state funds, yeah, you better be more admissible. And it's just funny. There's a level of entitlement that goes on with these daycares that are around. It's just disgusting, man.
No. And she wouldn't give me any more information. And so you'd think that even if they didn't want to talk with me, that they would maybe give you a brochure, right? Just to kind of show that they're actually a legit daycare. And they're licensed for 40 children. It's funny because then after that I post my video, local news, CBS then tells that daycare they're going to go, and they film a video, and there's 12 kids inside the daycare. Well, either
It's
way.
still not 40.
What?
It's still not 40.
Yeah, it's still not 40.
I doubt that. 40, okay, I'm sorry. $1 million, 40 kids. That's absolutely enough. Are you kidding me? That is absolutely enough. Especially, here's the thing. Is this free daycare? I'm sorry. I think it's ridiculous to publicly fund a daycare for 40 kids $1 million. I think that's way too much. That's insane to me. And then also come to find out the whole thing's a scam.
40. So what's the point of giving them $1 million? Yeah, so I believe that's fraudulent. And then we go to the next daycare, and this one had received $3.45 million.
Can I ask about where...
$3.45 million. Let that sink in. For a daycare. Even if the daycare was legit, that's still a lot, dude. To be fair, honestly, like whether he's a YouTuber or not, you should answer your fucking phone too. None of these daycares answered their goddamn phones. Come on, man. Think about that. None of these daycares answer their stupid fucking phones.
This is, you mentioned Cedar Park.
Cedar Riverside, that's like the well-known community inside of Minneapolis. But this video I filmed is all throughout Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Right.
And so then we go to the next one. It's actually right where George Floyd happened, just a few blocks away from it. $3.45 million. And this lady opens the door. I kept all my security. I kept the other vans. I put David kind of far to the side. I was like, all right, we're going to have a genuine interaction. I don't want anyone to make any excuses. So this lady opens up the door, and I say, hey, I want to enroll my son, little Joey. And she says, no. I'm like, well, can I at least get a brochure? She says, no. I said, would my son have friends here? She said, no. And there were no kids, no snow, no footprints in the snow. And she was the only one there, broad daylight, I believe, on December 16th, which I believe was a Tuesday. There should be children inside the daycare.
What time?
We were there. Hers was around 12, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then also Quality Learning Center. This one is so bad because they had received $1.9 million. They had over 90 violations, and they're just a few blocks away from downtown Minneapolis, just a few blocks away from where the Timberwolves plays.
Crazy. Give me one moment, though. I'm seeing if they're going to do I'm seeing if they're gonna do like the Democrats are gonna do like some sort of no kings demonstration today because I wanna troll. There's the Coos County Democrats gather together. Oh, at the Coney station, of course. Hold on, you guys. I'm checking out to see what all I'm sure the Democrats are all going to get together on the boardwalk today. Oh, there's a protest. Oh, there isn't. Is there a protest scheduled today? Of course, the Democrats are too lazy to do one today. I love how people think here. By the way, here's the protest schedule for the Demorats here in Coos County. Check this out, dude. Check that out. Oh yeah, I want to go down there with my mega hat. I wouldn't be surprised if there were people down there today. Oh, there might be an ICE protest down there though. ICE protesting ICE and shit. I'll go down there and be like, ice, ice, baby. Dun, 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 dun. I love how the Coos County Democrats are all gathering together, acting like they give a shit. And you could tell, I mean, I'm looking at these photos. These are... Oof. Yeah. Well, at least they did a peaceful candlelit vigil. Well, we might have to do the Michael Garza Show down at the boardwalk. I don't know. I'd probably get killed. But,
And their sign literally said, Quality Learning Center. Like, imagine that. You're trying to teach children to learn, but you can't even spell learning right on your
Hadn't
son.
that been incorrect for 9 years or something?
For many years, because they were originally inside on the road, and then...
That's crazy. The sign was that way for years. That's insane. Wait, what? What are we talking about here? I'm just showing you guys the protest schedule. Like, that's just what's happening. That's the protest schedule. It's publicly available information. Democratic Party of Coos County. I wonder how many chodes are going to be down there. I bet you anything, if I were to go down to the boardwalk at 12 o'clock, I bet there would be some boomers down there. Granted, I'll probably see boomers down there.
And then they like cut out this door, and they opened up a restaurant where Ilhan Omar has photos of her outside that same restaurant. And the owner also has photos with her and the mayor. And the guy who came out saying that my video was false, he has videos of him partying with the mayor of Minneapolis. Like, it's all intertwined. And so there's all this fraud happening. Millions of dollars are being given out to these daycares, and then on top of that, you have adult daycares, you have autism centers.
Adult daycares?
Yes.
What is that?
Adult daycares, place for adults to get taken care of.
People with special needs?
I've seen plenty of power banks over my 15 years of reviewing tech, but this Ridge one...
Okay, how do you advertise an adult daycare? What is it? It's literally called adult daycare?
Adult daycare. And then you have assisted living, so that's kind of confusing. You have adult daycare and you have assisted living.
Okay. Right, yeah, because they can't be the same thing if you've separated them out. And if you've got stuff, because there's like loads of stuff happening with autism.
Yeah. Like, there was not just a random surge in autism, but there was an increase from $1 million to $200 million in funding.
For autism.
for autism
In Minnesota.
in Minnesota.
$200 million.
Yes.
Wow.
In 2024, there's $200 million.
Compared with,
I think in 2017, there's $1 million.
oh wow, so it's in what, 7 years?
Yeah, so just in a short period of time, it went from $1 million to $200 million. Autism wasn't just springing up like that, and you didn't need to prove that. Like you didn't need a license. Like it came out just the other day that like the Biden administration opened up these systems, and you didn't have to really prove much in order to get the funding. And so a lot of people just took advantage.
Yeah, I think my first question is, what is it about Minnesota or Minneapolis in particular and the bylaws and the small print which has caused this particular scheme to flourish?
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense why Somalians would go to Minnesota. Somalia, the temperature and the climate's completely different than Minnesota. I think people realize like Minnesota's known for being Minnesota nice. Everyone was accepting. They brought all these refugees, and it wasn't a problem until it became a problem. And so then you get politicians like Tim Walz and the mayor, Little Fry over there, who start panhandling to the Somalian community, who's just a small percentage of the population there. It's about anywhere from 80 to 200,000. No one exactly knows. The ranges are from 80 to 200,000 people.
It's not a big number of people.
No, it's not, but they go into certain areas and they pretty much move out any other race or religion, and it just becomes a Somalian area.
That's crazy, dude.
And so it's not, so it becomes an issue
It's freaking
when
wild.
you don't feel like it's still your city, or you don't feel like you're being represented by your politicians. And so
Yeah, I got a feeling though, if I were to go down to the boardwalk, I'm pretty sure I would see tons of leftists. Maybe not tons, probably like. And I'll do the Michael Garza Show down there. I'll probably just do the Michael Garza Show as normal down there.
So Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar, they kind of started panhandling to this group of immigrants, one for votes, and then also they attached on to the welfare programs. I believe 81% of Somalians in Minnesota are on welfare. 89% of the fraud being committed by people inside Minnesota is by Somalians. And then if you come out and speak against the fraud, you'll be called a white supremacist, like Tim Walz did with me. He'll call you far right. He'll call you a delusional conspiracy theorist. And so all this political correctness made it to where people kind of feel like they couldn't speak out. That's why David,
Yep.
he had been trying.
And it's so funny because anytime somebody does speak out, they're called racist, homophobic, or whatever phobic you want to put down. And basically, this is what stops the truth from flourishing. It allows certain communities to take advantage of other communities, and vice versa. The cycle continues. Political correctness needs to stop. If a community is committing fraud, it doesn't matter what race, religion, or creed they are. If they're committing fraud, they're committing fraud. Simple as that. It's not racist to point out a pattern. Just saying. It's frustrating, the level of idiocy. It really isn't racist to point out a pattern, by the way. But thank you guys. I appreciate everybody. I'm thinking about going down to the Coos Bay Boardwalk. I may do that.
For years to get the story out to tell people, and I
don't think I'll react to this entire video, but I will probably react until like 11:30.
one of the only people who'd listen to him and give him the time of the day to go show what's happening.
So I understand that you've got this unusual microcosm of a very particular demographic in a very tightly dense area. What I don't understand is, what is it about Minnesota? Tim Walz has been saying you can come here, they're kind of nice, but there has to be a specific loophole or legal.
Well, everybody knows, all the Somalians that came there knew that they could get free shit, and that's smart of them. I'm not even mad at the Somalians, per se. I'm more mad at the Minnesota government for turning a blind eye to obvious fraud for so long. Obviously, it takes two to tango, you know. But if you put out incentives and free shit, you're gonna have people come your way. People love free shit. If you offer free shit, people are going to take it, especially government money. It's that simple. So what sucks is that the Minnesota government's guilty of turning away actual whistleblowers and calling them racist and stuff. That's wrong.
I mean,
These
is this
people are
available everywhere?
heroes,
If I
in my
just
opinion.
dumped 200,000 people from one particularly innovative culture into an area, would they be able to scheme and do that across the whole country?
Yeah, well, I talked to some of the Somalians, and they tell me, well, if one Somalian moves, we all move, essentially. So, like, they kind of move in these groups. So there's, like, groups of them in Texas, there's groups of them in Minnesota, and I think they just saw how much money you can make from these welfare programs. They're going unchecked. I mean, Quality Learning Center, they had 90 violations.
Stop calling it quality lyrics.
That's what it is. Quality Learning Center. And they leered their lesson.
They learned their lesson. Yep. Okay, stop. Chris, stop with that cringy ass laugh, please. I don't want to hear your cringy ass laughing.
We have got to the point where literally.
But yeah, no, it's a lot of, it's rife with fraud. The whole thing's just despicable.
Can you explain to me the exact journey of a dollar? Where it comes from, where it goes to, and what you think is going on? I imagine that there's a variety of different paths that it can take. But money has to come from somewhere.
Well, if Tim Walz ultimately quit, he would have resigned. He should resigned, by the way. Tim Walz should resign. But he's not going to. The only thing he did was he was like, well, I'm not going to run for the gubernatorial race. Okay. And then he also blames Trump for him having to drop out, basically. It's despicable. Tim Walz, you're a nasty, nasty man. But damn, you're very sexy.
I go to somewhere, get fed back to somewhere. What's the?
What I'm trying to say is it's pretty damn obvious that there's a cover-up. And Tim Walz already said the buck stops with him. Okay. Well, then resign, because it's pretty clear that you allowed all this to happen, buddy. You allowed it to continue.
The story there.
Yeah, so for instance, with childcare, there's this thing called the HHS, and that's a federal. It's I believe it's Health and Human Services. So they allocate a certain amount of funds to stuff like childcare. For instance, they allocated $185 million to childcare, and then that money you then go submit. You go get licensed for your daycare, and then you say we want this many children, and then you're able to receive this money for these daycares because it's part of their. Like Tim Walz openly bragged, even on X and in the debate with JD Vance, like we're going to give childcare and daycare a raise. Like, why would you do that? There's a lot of hardworking parents that are paying to put their kid in childcare.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how they go about making their money. And then they realize, well, daycare is great. Let's do adult daycare.
I'm sorry. What do kids really need in a daycare? They just need some food, give them a juice box. I mean, unless it's a kid with special needs, it's a different story. That's understandable. There are different stories. But for the traditional kid, you know, give them a juice box, give them a sandwich. That's about it.
Here, let's do assisted living.
Well, hang on. So you've got this fund that can help to pay for daycare, but somebody needs to create a business.
And here's the thing. They can start these businesses and they know they're going to get paid by the government one way or another. So all these Somali-run daycares, they just do whatever they want. Even if they have violations, the violations seem to get thrown out. Nobody does anything about the fraud. Quality Learning Center is closed. My crocodile tears are showing.
Business and file a business. And
Man.
what's the structure of what's going on the ground there? Who's working there? Are they being paid in cash? Are they being paid?
Yeah, so that's kind of the problem right now. That's why the federal government has surged Minnesota with investigators to figure out what's actually happening. Because it's been like this kind of...
Because my goal in life is not to be reliant on the government. That's why I swing trade. That's why I do what I do. That's really the goal. The goal is to be a self-sustaining entity. Luckily I'm a good investor, but man, these fraud schemes, dude, they just... they blow my mind, man.
weird liquid thing where no one really knows. And so that's kind of the problem. That's why you're seeing it's kind of hard to track down what's actually happening.
You know that there's money going in, but you're unsure where it's coming from or how it's being distributed.
Yeah. So I went to a fraud committee meeting, and this one lady, she's a Republican representative for the state, she laid out one of these frauds that was happening. You had one man, he also ran a daycare, assisted living, and he had multiple violations, but the government kept giving him money. And so somebody from inside the state, DHS, was cutting the checks, and they continued to give these people money even though they're violating and having violations. And so that's why they had been enabling this fraud to happen for so long. That's why Tim Walz, he needs to be held accountable for it because, like you said, the buck stops with him. And so if someone's stealing $100,000, $1 million from your bank account, how fast are you going to find out? Pretty quick. And Tim Walz has been saying they've been fighting fraud since 2019. And so 6 years later, he's been enabling fraud.
A quick aside, you've probably heard experts like Dr. Rhonda Patrick talk about the benefits of omega-3s. They reduce... Hello.
By the way, why 197319? You're clearly a bot account, so stop it. You're an AI bot account. Stop it.
Omega-3s. There they are. They reduce brain function. No, they don't. They support brain function. Maybe I should take more. They support brain function, reduce inflammation, improve heart health, and are backed by hundreds of studies. But here's the thing. All omega-3s are not made the same. Most brands cut corners. They use cheap fish oil, skip purity testing, throw in fillers, and call it a day. But with Momentous, you know you're getting the highest quality omega-3s on the market. They're NSF certified for sport, and they're tested for heavy metals and purity. So you can rest easy knowing anything that you take
I need some fish oil, dog. G-Dog, I need fish oil,
from Momentous is unparalleled when it comes to rigorous third-party testing. What you read on the label is what's in the product and absolutely nothing else. Best of all,
It would be nice to probably use some fish oil for cooking, though. I love
Momentous offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can buy it and try it for 29 days. If you don't love it, they'll just give you your money
prefer
back.
salmon.
Plus, they ship internationally. Right now, you can get 35% off your first subscription and that 30-day money-back guarantee by going to the link in the description below or heading to livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's livemomentous.com.
Yeah, E.T., I think why 197319 is that Jake Pierce guy that was pretending to be a Marine or whatever. That makes sense. Okay, let's keep going.
/modernwisdom and modern wisdom at checkout.
Need to find the best way to learn math? It's brilliant.org. Brilliant's an effective and fun way to learn, built for the way your mind actually works. Every lesson is visual and interactive, so the math makes sense.
So you have unlicensed, people don't need to show that they've got registered teachers, any accreditation. What's the level of scrutiny to be able to build? If I want to go now and start the Quality Leering Center 2.0, can I go do that?
Now it would probably be a lot harder because of everything, but I mean, people were starting them up everywhere. I mean, if you just drive...
By the way, there's nothing wrong with selling supplements. Dude, there's nothing wrong with having a supplement as your sponsor. It's probably it's a better sponsor than most sponsors I've seen for other podcasts. Some podcasts have like these weird ass fucking sponsors, and you're just like, no thanks, no thank you.
Around Minneapolis, and you pay attention to all the daycare centers, or whether it be daycares or adult daycares or assisted livings or home health services, you'll be shocked. Like literally almost every block, there's some sort of welfare program, whether it be autism, daycare. You're like, what is going on? And they're not like nice buildings. They're like these almost like warehouse style buildings. And they just...
Exactly. These places were red flags. The moment he started stepping up to him, I was like, uh-oh. I was like, dude, these places are fucking red flags. And, you know, and Wolf Raza in the chat is probably going to defend the fraud, and that's okay. We support your right to defend the fraud, Wolf Raza. Let's keep going.
slap a daycare on top of it, and there's no children to be seen anywhere.
Have you looked at the landlords of these buildings? Who owns them?
I haven't looked into who's the landlords.
That'd be interesting to work out how culpable it sort of goes back. Okay, so that's, I suppose, the business side, and it's kind of obvious. You find a loophole inside of the government and some of the subsidy money which can be paid to these kinds of facilities. You start one, you gain all of the money to pay your costs, but because you're not operating it fully, you don't have to pay the costs, and you're able to arbitrage. You just scrape off the top of whatever's left.
It's tax exempt.
Right.
And so, like, for instance, a lot of the women working in there, there's videos of, you can look this up, there's videos of men going in, women bringing their children, and then there's a man who gives them cash. And so a lot of these guys, and this is also makes me, I have some theories about this. So, for instance, Muslims, they can marry 4 wives. And so all these people inside of these daycares, a lot of the women are probably related or married to the man who's receiving the checks.
Okay.
Right? So he's receiving quality learning. He's receiving $1.9 million. He has all these employees. Well, I'm not actually going to give him.
Quality Leering Center was getting $1.9 million. That's a fucking disgrace, dude. That piece of garbage establishment, really?
Put them on a W-2 or 1099, because then I have to report their taxes, and they're going to have to pay taxes on that money. So let me just pay them cash. And then what will we do? We'll collect welfare. 81% of the population's on welfare. inside of Minnesota.
Because-
Somalians are on welfare
Because you
because they're not.
haven't registered the employees as employees, they still get to be paid in cash from the front end and receive the benefits from the back end.
Yeah, so now I'm thinking about it. If they do put them on taxes, they're probably paying them bare minimum so they can still receive those benefits. So whether it's like $30,000, just the bare minimum to get by to still be able to receive those benefits.
Let's keep watching.
And you think the multiple wives thing, you're just saying that's kind of free and easy labor from somebody that you know, which happens to be in your house. Have you got any evidence of guys that have got a whole family of wives that are working in a single place?
Well, it's kind of just a theory I have. I mean, they're able to marry four, and all the women all the people working inside the daycares are women. And then when you think about what the percentage of people are on welfare that are Somalians, kind of makes sense. And then you see like their economy they have there with all of these welfare programs. How are there so many people living on welfare still?
Is this money being sent back to Somalia at all? Have you got any idea?
Yes, so some of that money has been traced back to the Al-Shabaab reporter found that out. And I actually talked to a man who worked at TSA. This is coming out in my part 2. And there's a video from 2017 from Fox Local News there, where they had reports of millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash going through TSA. Literally in cash, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they then take this money, they get it through TSA, they then take them to the back of a room, they then claim the money, whatnot. Because we can't go through without saying if we have more than $10,000, you have to let people know. And so then they let them go through, and all they have to do is get to a country like Dubai, where they can then send that money and wire it over to a place like Somalia, and it can go through.
I was going to say, because it's all cash.
Yeah.
This is cash, which is a kind of a bit of a nightmare. It's good that it's untraceable when you start shifting big volumes of it around up to $9,999. You're going to have a pretty sophisticated operation to distribute it.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, for instance, that's why I think a lot of the women there aren't actually getting paid money, or aren't getting paid legally, because they just give them cash. Because it's a way you don't have to report, and if you work in cash, everyone knows that you can kind of move around taxes if you're working around a cash primarily business.
Have you got any evidence that it's coming back into the government at all?
Yeah, so it is interesting, for instance, that Ilhan Omar, she's outside of the daycare with the lady who operates another daycare, who then is also giving the mayor a tour of her daycare.
Vacation time.
And there has been funneling to some of these campaigns, allegedly. For instance, Tim Walz. It was very weird when Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz to become the vice president to run with her. Nobody really knew who he was. And I wanted to make sure I had the right stat for when I came to talk to you about this. So Tim Walz, the day he's chosen to become vice president, he raises a record high $36 million in one day. For his campaign with Kamala
$36 million a
Harris.
day?
Record high
In one day.
of all vice presidents? All
Yeah, like the first day, that's like the most amount of money a vice president has brought into a campaign.
Wow.
$36
That's
million.
insane, dude.
Tim Walz, he's a football coach. He's from Nebraska. And how does he raise $36 million in one day? They're anti-billionaires. They're anti-Elon Musk.
I suppose the argument might be maybe some rich donors on the left are able to, or they're concerned about the potential of the second Trump term, so people are going to dump. Do you need to register where that money comes from? Do people need to register donations in that sort of way? Is it trackable?
I would think so.
It should be pretty easy to work out where that's come from then. And if there's a ton coming from Cedar River, the Quality Leering Center, you'd think, okay, well, we could trace that back.
Shout out, dude. Quality Leering Center. Hell yeah, dude. That's where I got my education.
But we've also, like, how are they not able to trace down all this fraud that's happening right now?
That's true.
It's just like, it's kind of been disheartening to see on both sides, Republicans and Democrats side. One, you had Democrats come after me and to start defending fraud. And then you had Republicans like, all right, how do we crack down on this fraud? It's like, well, aren't you guys like government officials? Like, how did you guys just let this happen as well? So it's like both side issue. And nobody likes fraud to be happening.
Disheartening is a good way to put it. I think that no matter what your perspective, I mean, unless you're somebody who is
Vacation time, absolutely. 36 mil, dude. That's wild. How the hell did Tim Walz? I just don't understand how anybody can look at Tim Walz and say, I'm going to donate $1 million to that guy. I mean, even if I had disposable income, by the way, and thought he could maybe help with my interests, I'm not stupid enough to donate to that incompetent boob. Also, I think most Democrats, unfortunately, are incompetent as fuck.
Benefiting from a scheme like this. Everyone feels crappy about how much money is taken from them for taxes. Everybody does. And the prospect of...
Oh, yeah, dude. I know where he's getting at on this. And yeah, absolutely. I'm pissed. I'm pissed that 35% of Minnesota's budget's federal. So I was paying for Minnesota problems when I don't want to. I don't want to pay for that Minnesota BS, that Minnesota fraud. God knows how much of my federal tax dollars are going to other states' fraudulent programs and turning a blind eye on fraud. It's crazy. This is why people don't trust the government, because the government is a black hole for your money. Government equals incompetence. It is so bloody simple.
Seeing so much waste go on must just drive people insane. I know it does. I mean, when I was living in the UK, the different deductions that we have for taxes are so insane. People get pissed at the fact that the roads aren't very good. My taxes go toward these roads, and there's potholes in my roads, or my bins won't get...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. The amount we pay in Oregon is pretty ridiculous, too. I am glad that we don't have sales tax, though. That is kind of a benefit of living in Oregon. But at the same time, our income taxes are a little bit high, too. So, I mean, usually you're getting F'd in the A in both ways.
Get collected, et cetera, et cetera. But when you see schemes like this, that just feels like how much of that could be back into the pockets of people who really, really need it and are working hard to basically do this weird, like, trickle-down pyramid scheme where a relatively small number of people who aren't working are taking tons of money from a pretty big number of people who are.
Yeah, it feels like we're being robbed, the hardworking, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. It literally is robbery. I mean, they're stealing our money. It's happening everywhere across America, come to find out. Elon Musk, he tried to do Doge, and who was one of the proponents who was most against Elon Musk? Tim Walz. Like, all this stuff happening now, it's like starting to make sense.
Well, with stuff like that, I get what you mean.
So we're not going to be able to react to the entire podcast thing, but it's going to be interesting, man. Paul Seltzer is asking, when is Mr. Shirley coming to California to track down $500 billion in state fraud? That doesn't surprise. Damn, that's a lot of fraud, bro. It's a lot of fraud. It's cray. Hold on, you guys. I'm trying to put this down below. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so slow. I'm putting it down kind of in the middle, telling people to tap subscribe. I want people to simp. I want people to be pimps. There we go. Real Gaza. Let's go.
Tim Walz realizes that the skeletons in his closet, and I am going to push back against a potentially very invasive investigation, which is going to find out what's going on. I get the sense that, especially if you're sort of caught up in the furor of popular politics and you're on the front page of CNN every day and you're potentially going to be the vice president, I think it's more likely to be Elon is the bad guy, he's on the other side. Maybe this will benefit me a bit behind the scenes. I always get a little bit skeptical of like attributing to real personal aspirations shit that's going on when someone is mega time, because they're so concerned about optics and how does this play. Maybe this is the driving force in the back.
I will say, dude, if they send out that $2,000 or $5,000 Doge check, I will be pretty stoked. That will be amazing. That will be some good shit. I'll probably just end up investing it like I normally do, but yeah, I want the Doge check, dude. Gimme my stimmy. This is vacation time 24/7. Thank you, my brony brother.
The back of his mind.
Real quick, I do have to brush my teeth real quick, so bear with me.
I just get the sense that when there is a big tsunami of stuff happening, you're playing much more for kind of the big game than the smaller personal stuff back home. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because, for instance, something as simple as government efficiency, that's what DOGE stands for, Department of Government Efficiency. Shouldn't that be something we all celebrate? And so when you hear these politicians come out and speak against this stuff, it's like, okay, has common sense left your brain? Because we all just want more efficiency inside of our government. Like 3 to 7% of all
I'm not
taxes
getting a
go
bra,
towards fraud.
dude.
Tell you what's interesting.
No bra.
I did the first long-form podcast episode with anybody from Doge ever, and it's a guy called Sam Korkos, who is currently the CIO of the Treasury Department. So we did the episode on the same set as the McConaughey one, but instead we had the US debt calculator on the big video wall behind us. And I was asking him just how sort of inefficient, and he's very much on the technical side of this. What are the algorithms that we're using? How are we tracking these things? He's very much sort of in the matrix of this, trying to reprogram it to make it more efficient from a technical standpoint. He's got a big technical background. But if you just think, okay, that's the system, which is designed and relatively easy to be able to investigate, relatively easy to investigate. We've got all of these different systems. Let's put them all out on a whiteboard and we can work it out. If you go, okay, you need to fly to Minnesota, go to this place, investigate this. Is there a person there? When did the kids arrive? When did they leave? Has this guy got 4 wives? What's going on? Is the money being paid in cash? That's so much more arduous. It's like, that's whack-a-mole as opposed to what Sam's doing, which is much more like an atomic bomb of trying to improve efficiency. And he was having challenges. He was hitting limits. So I guess the first thing it makes me think about is when you have a country of this size, the diseconomies of scale of 330 million people, there's going to be so much slippage in the system and so
I'm actually sad. I'm actually very sad they shut down Doge because I think they were on the right path. They were exposing the fraud. Now everybody loves fraud, dude. It sucks. We're ending the poll, by the way. Nick Shirley exposed. What did he expose? He exposed my wiener for being small. What a jerk. Nick Shirley exposed how tiny my wiener is. That sucks.
So many holes and little exploits and speed runs that you can go through. This is kind of inevitable. This isn't me excusing the fact that it happens, but just how could it not? How would it not? But the point is now, okay, we have found this. So we play whack-a-mole. And this is not a small mole, right? What's the total amount of fraud?
It's estimated above 9 billion with a B. 9 billion.
9 billion?
Right. Yeah, that's a significant amount of money.
It's a lot of money.
Just in Minnesota?
Just in Minnesota.
Wow.
And so it makes you think, like, one thing I'm super proud about my video is it's the first video you've ever seen where journalism really created instantaneously change. You had feds go and launch multiple investigations. They decided to freeze all childcare funding for the state of Minnesota.
Frozen all childcare funding for the state of Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, that sounds
185
good.
million.
That sounds good, but that has got to impact people who are legitimately trying to get their children looked after.
My next point is they said, we'll give you back the funding once you prove you're a legitimate business.
Okay.
To this day, time of this recording, no businesses have submitted to prove legitimacy.
None.
None.
How are you tracking that?
The the HHS made a video about it just the other day.
The HHS made a video. Have they got a YouTube channel?
They should probably. They've been tagging me in their post on X.
Okay, that's interesting.
So
are they
Health and Human
adversarial
Services.
with you? Are they collaborative with you? What's their tone like with this?
I think they're just appreciative of the effort because they saw how obvious I made it to the American public that fraud is happening. And so I think it's amazing what they're doing. And I think this kind of could help combat fraud in a lot of states and across America. Is all right. Obviously, there's a lot of fraud happening. Let's take a week break. Let's freeze the funding. And now everyone show us proof of legitimacy. And if you can't, we're not going to give you the money.
Have you got any idea what proof of legitimacy looks like?
Probably showing like there's kids inside the daycares. Maybe that'd probably be a good place to start. Like, hey, here's our video cameras of us receiving our 90 kids that we have a capacity for. That'd probably help prove they're a little bit more legit.
I mean, Nick's on point, dude. Nick is still on point. Hey.
About element before, and that's because I am
Here's the thing, man. I firmly believe that I'm so sick of all this fraud, dude. I'm sick of it, bro. I'm sick of it, man. Do you guys think I should go to the Coos Bay Boardwalk? I'm thinking I might. I probably will just do the Michael Garza Show at the Coos Bay Boardwalk. If they're doing the anti-ice celebrations or whatever, protest. what counter arguments are there? Any counter arguments I've seen so far have been bullshit. I look at them, but I don't take them seriously. Because I acknowledge that the counter arguments exist, but it's pretty freaking clear that there's fraud happening. And people in Minnesota are pissed. People around the U.S. are pissed. They have to pay taxes to these freaking fake-ass places, dude. By the way, notice how once the federal funding went away, the Quality Learning Center went away. Because once the Ponzi money stops coming in, you can't keep the Ponzi scheme going, you know.
Dependent on it, and it's how I've started my day every single morning. This is the best tasting hydration drink on the market. You might think, why do I need to be more hydrated? Because proper hydration is not just about drinking enough water. It's having sufficient electrolytes to allow your body to use those fluids. Each grab-and-go stick pack is a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. It's got no sugar, coloring, artificial ingredients, or any other junk. This plays a critical role in reducing muscle cramps and fatigue while optimizing brain health, regulating your appetite, and curbing cravings. This orange flavor in a cold glass of water is a sweet, salty, orangey nectar, and you will genuinely feel the difference when you take it versus when you don't, which is why I keep going on about it. Best of all, there's a no questions asked refund policy with an unlimited duration. Buy it, use it all, and if you don't like it for any reason, they give you your money back and you don't even have to return the box. That's how confident they are that you'll love it. Plus, they offer free shipping in the US. Right now, you can get a free sample pack of Element's most popular flavors with your first purchase by going to the link in the description below, heading to drinklmnt.com/modern wisdom. That's drinklmnt.com/modern wisdom.
Don't care.
Okay,
Don't care.
What's been the rest of the
Just wanna
fallout, sort of structurally, of what's gone on in Minnesota? Childcare stuff's been halted until you prove, and then you can get it back.
Yes. That's been a fallout. Just the other day, the protesters stormed ICE, and ICE actually killed a protester.
I saw there was that lady in the car.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was very sad to see.
I wanted to talk about this, dude, because I think one of the concerns that everybody has is we've already got some pretty sort of tight tensions around this sort of stuff at the moment. UK maybe even more so than here. How much do you think your video contributed to the tension of what happened in Minneapolis the other day?
Well, they surged the city with federal agents, and they launched these investigations, which is a good thing. Do we want crime to be happening? Do we want illegal migrants running rampant in our cities? Do we want millions of dollars being funneled across to other places? These are all good things. But now the left is saying that you're a bad person for trying to crack down and uphold the law.
Yeah, no, we should be cracking down on this. We shouldn't be made to feel guilty for having ICE in Minnesota. If anything, Nick Shirley's entire documentary shows that now more than ever, we need to crack down on the BS.
And so for that lady to be out there and impeding law enforcement and then attempt to run him over, like the video is pretty evident that her target was to run him over. And he shot her. Super tragic. I was super sad when I saw that video. That did not need to happen. She didn't need to put law enforcement in risk. She could have supported law enforcement, and she could have abided by what they said. They told her to get out of her door, to get out of her car, and then she goes and hits the ICE agent, and he's fearful for his life, and he shoots her. Super sad, right? No one wants to see that happen. And it's just gotten to a point where people need to really come to their senses and think, okay, this is law enforcement. If they're going to tell us to do something, we should probably do it.
Yeah.
But then you're seeing these politicians come out and say, ICE, get the F out of our city. Little guy Fry says that, the mayor of
time. Come on,
Minneapolis.
bro.
And then Tim Walz is calling this a war against the federal government. Why can't they de-escalate and say, all right, you guys, fraud's bad. Illegal migrants, if you're here, local law enforcement, federal law enforcement's here. If they get you guys, you're going to go back to where you came from.
How many of the
Absolutely, bro.
Somali people are there legally versus illegally? Is there any idea?
I don't know.
What's your estimation?
Well, with Biden, a lot of people came to the country, over 10 to 20 million. And so there's a lot of them. And then people have undocumented people have been doing asylum cases.
Number one, I love him. He's lots of fun. I like Joe Biden all day long in a juicy, juicy man thong.
So who knows exactly how many?
You had no indication of how many people were actual citizens versus illegal?
No.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But because, for instance, some of them came out here, like Ilhan Omar, she's a naturalized citizen of the United States. She was born in Somalia, brought over. She became a U.S. citizen. Now she's in Congress. And so there's a lot of people who are naturalized citizens. And because this happened a long time ago, people like Ilhan Omar then have kids, and then those kids are born citizens. And so that's what makes it super complex with the topic of illegal immigration, because you have parents who are illegal, kids who are illegal, and the option is, well, if we find you, you have the option to go back with your children, or your child will be here. It's very, like, the topic of illegal immigration is super hard. That's why you should do it right.
No, I'm trying to say I love Joe Biden. He's number one. I love him. He's lots of Joe Biden sucks. But anyway, no, Joe Biden. No, Joe Biden. There's nobody next. We just love Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's a brutal
JK.
situation. So the influx of ICE agents, that was
With Biden, we're riding with Biden.
specifically kind of in response to this.
Yeah, and ICE was already there. They had been there since back in June. When I was there for the first time back last June, there was a ICE raid that took place, and they've been operating there for months since Trump took office, because a lot of people that came over the border, we didn't just have immigration from Latin America. We had people coming all the way from Africa, all across the world. They came over. And so there's a high likelihood that tens of thousands of people from Somalia also came in. And where do they go when they get here to the United States? A place where they feel like they're being represented? Somalia. Or to, not Somalia, to
It might be now little
Minneapolis.
Somalia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Laugh out loud.
Have you got any idea
laugh
who
out loud.
masterminded
Somebody
this?
subscribe,
Are the
dude.
Somalis that innovative?
Sean
that
Lon,
they just
dude.
kind of played the system.
Sean Lon. Dude, Massively Major sent a one Michael Garza gift membership to my homeboy, Sean Lon. Thank you so much, Massively Major. Make sure you guys subscribe to @the_Massively_Major, my home dog. Thank you, my brony brother. It's not gay when it's in a three-way, is what Massively Major is saying. Quoted by Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Thank you, Massively Major. I appreciate the gifted membership, and I'm sure Sean Lon 71 is going to thank you for it. Thank you, my brony brother. Let's keep
Them
going.
over and over until they found an exploit and stood next to a spawn point and started to generate like free government money.
Yeah, I'm sure someone just saw that it was easy. No one was really checking. I mean, they had fraud tourism. People were coming all across the country to move to Minnesota to commit fraud because they wasn't getting stopped.
Well, I think I remember when I was in downtown.
Showing up late. On purpose.
So busy.
Classic corporate power move. But the real power move? Predictive modeling that helps prevent supply chain issues.
San Francisco for the first time, and I was looking around, and I couldn't believe how many homeless people there were. And I come from Austin, where there's a pretty big homeless population, but it's not that much. And I realized that, well, you've got basically the perfect climate, like meteorologically, you've got the perfect climate. It's not going to get too cold that you freeze. It's not going to get too hot that you get cooked alive.
I refuse to get premium. I'm not paying like $12 a month for no ads on YouTube. Screw that. I'll take the ads. And I'll take them up my...
And I suppose this is kind of the equivalent, but it's a fiscal, financial, legal
I
loophole.
effing refuse, dude,
Weird.
to get
It's
YouTube
perfect.
Premium.
Yeah,
Effing
and
refuse.
That was kind of my big question
Fuck.
going into this. Was like, why Minnesota? Why Minneapolis? And it just seems like, well, maybe this is available elsewhere, but someone found it and then just rinsed and repeated and told their friends, and now, I mean, there very well may be some sort of blueprint playbook that someone's got printed out on. This is exactly what you need to submit. This is exactly what you need to say. This is exactly what you need to do.
Oh, I'm sure of it. And also, like, that people are very scared to speak up in Minneapolis, Minnesota in general. You had George Floyd that happened there, and you saw what happened. They let the city burn. And so politicians especially, they're afraid of being politically correct and calling things out for what they are. And so I think
It's $18.99 now. It's $18.99 a month for YouTube Premium. That's a fucking joke, dude. No, I'm not gonna get YouTube Premium. That's insane. I'm okay with the ads at this point.
that kind of helped.
Do you know what I could do with that $18.99 a month? I can invest. I can invest in actual assets, stocks. Why? Tell me why, in God's name, do I need YouTube Premium? I'm fine with the ads. I have no problem with it. In fact, it shows that I'm fiscally responsible for not getting a pointless subscription.
Cultivate that fraud.
And by the way, fiscal responsibility is what I'm trying to encourage to people. So if I got YouTube Premium, I would actually be fiscally irresponsible. Yeah, that's $240 a year. Like, no, I'll stick with the ads, please.
and enable it to continue.
Because everybody's scared of being called a racist, so no one wants to call out something legitimate for being seen as being xenophobic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, that happens all across the world. That happened in the
By the way, my cell phone bill's like $340 a year, right? I pay yearly for Mint Mobile. I get unlimited data. I love it.
UK with the grooming stuff that took place. And I've talked with Tommy Robinson before, and he's like, political correctness got so bad that British men and women let their children get you-know-what. And it's sad that people are afraid to speak truth. But now I believe since we have freedom of speech back with X, Trump, he'll say whatever. And so people feel like they can say how they really feel, and if it's a fact, it's a fact.
Are you concerned that this could result in...
And by the way, that's how it should be. People should be able to say what they really feel, even if what they're feeling is ugly. Because an honest society, I believe, is a better society. I believe a society that lies to each other about things, that can't be truthful about things, is a detrimental society. A more truthful society. I think the truth will set us all free. Truth will set us all free. More truthful society, man. The targeted ad was strong there. Wait, which targeted ad? Oh, let's think of ads that are relevant, like showing porn addiction. There was one ad that I got was how to stop your porn addiction. I was like, oh God. I don't even watch that much porn, dude. Like occasionally I go to like X videos or whatever, or Cornhub, you know, but like outside of it though, I don't, you know, I try not to lie. I don't know. I think porn does kind of ruin the brain a little bit. Not too much. There's other things that ruin the brain, but like I try to cut back on the porn.
Xenophobia around a particular, like an entire community of people, when it's only one small portion of them. Somalis that live in New York, or Somalis that live in Austin, Texas, or whatever.
Well, I don't think if you're not committing fraud, you shouldn't be worried. It's just kind of a blatant fact that you shouldn't be worried unless you're committing fraud. Some man came up to me in part 2, and he comes after me. He says, "Are we the only community that commits fraud?" I'm like, "Well, you just admitted you commit fraud." Like, come on, man. And so it's like,
stop investigating.
That's funny. Are we the only community that commits fraud? So he's basically saying, yeah, we're not the only community that commits fraud. Other communities commit fraud. That is so fucking hilarious. You see, I love Nick Shirley and what he's doing, exposing, and this is why I don't vote Democrat either, because Democrats are soft on fraud. They're soft on violent crime. They are just soft on crime in general. And it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating. Like when I saw the defund the police campaign, I was like, oh God. You know, honestly, I'd rather take my chances with a cop than a violent criminal. A violent criminal is worse to deal with than a violent cop. I'm not a fan of violent cops, and they should actually have a vetting process. Absolutely. But defund the police was another crackpot idea by the Democrats who don't understand how the economy works. And it's frustrating, man. I see this all the time.
Fraud. Investigate that fraud.
Exactly. I'm like, well, it just happens that 89% of the population that are committing the fraud are Somalians here. And there was a lady who got charged.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's not racist to point out statistics. I know they're going to say that's racist. You're racist against Somalians. No, I mean, if Somalians are committing majority of the fraud, it's fact, as you know, like facts don't care about your feelings or whatever. I mean, facts don't care about your race either.
Charge for committing fraud is called Feeding Our Future, and she was the head honcho of it. She got charged and she's in jail. However, there was a man inside Minnesota.
And by the way, I do question some statistics, by the way, most statistics, but it doesn't surprise. Based on Nick Shirley's on the ground journalism and going to each of those daycares, it was painfully obvious with all the red flags. Those are sketchy run businesses. And they're getting millions of dollars. And it was just like, when I watched that whole video, I'm glad I reacted to it on this channel, by the way. There's a reason Tim Walz needs to resign. Tim Walz just needs to resign.
Got caught for $7.2 million.
And I think what it makes me wonder, if, by the way, 35% of their federal budget, 35% of Minnesota's budget is federal tax dollars. So that means 35%, that means whatever we're paying to Minnesota, whatever's going to Minnesota, we're contributing to the fraud by paying our federal taxes, is what that equates to. I don't want to fix Minnesota's stupid problems. Minnesota needs to fix their problems. Minnesota. This is why, like, I hate the Department of Education so much. I'm glad it's gone, because Oregon shouldn't be funding the education of somebody in Nebraska or Arkansas or California. Oregon should have its own Department of Education. If there needs to be some standards, sure, let there be federal standards, but there doesn't need to be an entire federal agency. By the way, you could argue that the Department of Education made the school system worse. I would argue that people who came out of high school are stupider than they probably would have been without. Yeah, I honestly think that the Department of Education, proposed by Jimmy Carter, there's a reason that Jimmy Carter was one of the worst presidents of all time.
Openings, a quarter of.
Here's how you can take advantage of
Damn it! Hold on, where were we at? Let's just go. Let's just start.
Investigation for years to the guy who's been living in Minneapolis for 8 years, who's never seen a kid inside a quality learning center, and then the crazy liberal who's yelling at me, telling me I'm ICE. So I'll talk to everybody, and I'll go to these protests, I'll do these live streams, and I'll talk.
Yeah, Nick Shirley's the man. And you know what? I'm going to go down to the boardwalk because I'm pretty sure there's going to be an anti-ICE demonstration down there. There's going to be a lot of woke Karens who think that ICE is terrible. And look, I'm not a fan of ICE either, but they're still a federal agency, and there's just tons of fraud in all these leftist states. By the way, there's fraud in non-leftist run states, by the way, as well. I say, let's go after it. Let's go after it. All of these fake-ass businesses that are being set up, all this BS, let's go after it.
To the protesters, and I just let people talk. And if they want to come after me, so be it. I'm there to give each and every single person I interview an opportunity to explain what they're doing, what they think, and why.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Nick Shirley. In that video, he actually was trying to talk to people, even the Somalians. Somalians were just rude to him and saying that he was slandering. Honestly, the fact of the matter is he was investigating. He was doing real journalism, something that CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News don't do. This is why I don't trust the mainstream media. This is why I trust guys like Nick Shirley who are trying to do real journalistic work and letting the viewer decide for themselves. Obviously, he has his own opinion about the situation. But he's saying, hey, look, this is what I think. I'm presenting the facts to you guys. You guys can make a decision on whether they're fraudulent or not. Nick Shirley is not a terrible person for pointing all of the things out, pointing everything out. In fact, if anything, he's a total stud for doing it. And I respect him, dude. I respect the hell out of him.
Ultimately, why they're behind the cause that they're behind.
Why do you think it is that the mainstream press had such a problem with it? Is it just a good optics to see?
Well, mainstream media is woke as shit, and they have a narrative that they need to complete. They hate Donald Trump, so anything that ruins the Democrat narrative, they're going to spin it in a different way.
Like you're sort of fighting for the underdog brown person, or is there something deeper going on?
I think it's because they're trying to delegitimize me, because I pose a threat to everything that they are. I pose a threat to their viewership, to their dollars, to their fan base. And so why would they want me to get credit for a story that they should have been reporting on? They have thousands of employees.
See, he just nailed it on the head, dude. Hammer to the nail right there. They do have thousands of employees, but none of these employees are interested in journalism. And even if they are, CNN and MSNBC and Fox News will tell them not to do it, not to pursue a story. Do you guys think that maybe the rise of Nick Shirley might spark an interest in journalism again in these bigger corporations? No. Here's the problem. They're corporations. They're going to double down on the fraud. They're going to double down saying that these Somalians did nothing wrong. And that's the problem. That's the problem, man. He's a real journalist. I love Nick Shirley. He's more real to me than CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News.
I have me, myself.
And your mom.
My mom. And that's pretty much it. I'll have my cameraman.
Yep.
And that's it. And we just did over 100 million views on an expose that.
And it shows you don't need to be. It shows you just need to go there and put the camera and the microphone on. You just got to go there and hit the record button, and then let the visuals speak for themselves, and interview people. That's exactly what Nick did. He went and he interviewed people. So total stud. I totally love this kid. I think he's amazing.
They should have covered as well, but instead they come after me. So I think that's kind of why. And so that's why you're seeing, and they know that the mainstream media, it's dying. Like, their viewership is getting less and less each and every single year. And so if they can come in and they find somebody like me who goes and does this story, gets way more views than they did, why would they want to say, "Oh, good job, Nick Shirley. Like, that's amazing reporting you just did."
Yeah.
They're not. They're jealous and pissed. They're like, "Wow, a YouTuber with a limited budget totally journalized. I don't know what the proper term would be. Out-journalized us. He's a real journalist and we're fake, and the world knows it. And now the world definitely knows it even more." Dude, nobody likes CNN. Nobody likes Fox News. Well, people like Fox News, I guess, but I'm not a fan of Fox News personally. I'm not a fan of MSNBC. I'm just anything that's mainstream because they're not real journalists. Each respective mainstream media outlet is getting paid by Big Pharma to promote some penis enlargement pill. All right?
Do everything to make people know that, at least try to make them know that whatever Nick Shirley did was not true. But it was true.
Yeah, there's certainly a rivalry between independent and legacy media in that way. I would say, at least, again, the immediate benefit that these...
By the way, citizen journalism needs to make a rise again, and I think YouTube can help, and I think X can help with that too. I think more independent journalists need to go to these places where the fraud's being committed and expose it. Get it on camera. Everybody's got a camera on their phone these days. Literally. Everybody's got a camera on their phone, and it's so funny. Nate Dogg says businesses don't like when money doesn't translate to success. Yeah. And the thing is, I think that there's actually a real push for authenticity these days. Like, I love seeing real journalism. I love seeing people, no matter what they believe, exposing real things. Going to businesses. If there's fraud happening, go to the business, interview the business. Go to the government, interview the government people, blah, blah, blah. It's real journalism. It's on-the-ground journalism. Something that I feel CNN and all these big businesses don't do, unfortunately. And here's the thing. My theory is mainstream media wants to keep you dumb and afraid. Dumb and afraid, right? The best way to keep you dumb and afraid is show you negative imagery all the time. Like, really negative. We're talking about, like, mass shootings, people dying, it's like, and then sounding overly concerned and panicked. If you ever listen to a news anchor speak, they almost have a slight panic to their voice in a certain way. It's like, and in today's news, they don't sound that exact, but like they sound overly concerned. You know what I mean? So I think what happens is if you watch the mainstream media all the time, you're going to be an overly concerned Karen who needs to buy dick enlargement pills because now you're afraid. And you see the dick enlargement pill ad on the mainstream media outlet. That's my theory. It's a bit of a whack job theory, I know, but that's my theory.
People get, in the same way as the immediate benefit that Tim Walz perhaps got, is the optics. That if you're not seen to be pushing back against this, you're seen to be implicitly agreeing with and endorsing the worst possible explanation of why you could have done it. That you don't like brown people. That you're the secret agent for Donald Trump. That you're a Fed. That you're a whatever. I think that to me makes the most sense, but I don't disagree that for the first time ever, it was really funny. There was some gossip in the evidence-based fitness community a couple of months ago, and it was the first time that I'd ever seen the press commenting on a really niche internet story. So typically, YouTubers, we would react to shit that happened in the real world or that's in the press. Press does an investigation. We talk about it, right? Today
Okay, guys, I think we've reacted to enough of the video. If you guys want to check out the rest of the video, though, it's just look up Chris Williamson and Nick Shirley. The title of the video is Inside Minnesota's $10 billion child care fraud scandal, Nick Shirley. Like I said, Chris Williamson is the name, and Nick Shirley. They both combined forces to make this. Cool. They're really cool dudes. I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Williamson. He's kind of like a pussy version of Andrew Tate. At least Andrew Tate is arrogant and fun to watch. Chris Williamson I've tried watching his show. He puts me to sleep a little bit. I think his intentions are pure, though. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he's not as entertaining. I'm not saying Andrew Tate gives good advice. I'm just saying Andrew Tate's entertaining. My Bugatti, my sparkling water. I'm a freaking genius. I love doing Andrew Tate impressions, though. They're pretty fun. So overall, yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to go walk down there. I don't think I'll, here's the thing. If there is an event I'm pretty sure there's going to be an anti-ice protest sort of thing going on down at the boardwalk. I wouldn't be surprised because of what happened recently. So I plan on going down there, seeing how many anti-ice people are all down there. And it'll be fun. Maybe nobody will be down there. Maybe I'll just do a show down at the boardwalk because I like being outside. So either way, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some sort of Karens, some mainly boomers who go down there traditionally, and that'll probably be about it. I'm not going to try to agitate anybody because these people are already cuckoo bear. And yeah, so I think the thing I'll probably end up doing is just kind of going down there for a little bit and then just chilling, doing my thing. All right, I'll catch you guys later. I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to take a whiz, and I'll see you guys down at the boardwalk, and maybe we'll do like a hour and a half stream or something like that. See you guys.